Hey, sword fans. I thought I'd take a break from the Swordvent Calendar event that I'm in the middle of at the moment and do a bit of a lazy unboxing. Also, forgive the voice, I am getting over a cold. So, last weekend I went to the Kempton Park Arms Fair and visited a few of my other colleagues down south, and I picked up two cases of items. And I haven't put any of them online yet, so none of them have really been seen. And I'm going to start off with just showing them to you because last time I did an unboxing, I had loads of people message me, and about half of the items went the same day. So, here we go. So, firstly, it's the lower grade items. So, firstly, a Maasai sword. These are the lion hunting swords of the Maasai tribe, and this one is most likely early 20th century, late 19th. Yeah, most likely early 20th. In good shape, still with its scabbard. The red scabbards apparently are from gifting when they become men, and it's most likely not one that has been used to hunt a lion, but it has been gifted to a young hunter and warrior when he comes of age. Secondly, is an actual lion hunting Maasai sword. And as you can see, this one is a bit more serious a sword, and it is quite large. It is about, I'd say, 28-30 inches in length. It is thick. This one is late 19th century and is just spectacular. I am in love with this piece. It's not often I come across an African sword that isn't a cascara that I fall in love with, but this is one. Moving on, sticking with Africa, here are two arm daggers. These are different variations of the Tuareg arm dagger. And yeah, this one is very interesting and odd. I'm actually going to adjust my lighting slightly. That works. That still works. And there you can see an interesting grip leading down to this nice scabbard with green leather and detailing. The blade on this, bit worn, but this one is an original 19th century example with very nice details there. And the other example is, that's better. The other example is a more common version with this cross hilt, but it is in spectacular condition with its scabbard, with its inlaid leather, its work, and this wonderful front plate here. And the wrist loop is perfectly intact. So that is about as good a one of those as you're going to find. What else in the box? There is also again, this is early 20th century. I don't usually go for these, but this came with a whole collection I purchased. This rather nice jambaya. It has a horn handle with silver pins and coin buttons, or coin sections, marked to 1914. So a little bit later than my usual thing, but it is complete with its scabbard and its belt, and it's dated, which, as much as it's not my usual thing, it's nice to have. So here is a pile of African weapons that These will be cheap and chips. I doubt they'll even make it onto my website. They'll most likely be in a flash sale or something similar. The first ones are these war darts. These are Malinke war darts, also known as Mandingo war darts, and they are for hunting animals and people. And these ones are, again, early 20th century. They're better condition and quality than tourist items, but they are later, and they have been stoppered with corks for safety. And these are just 3 random African axes, not worth an insane amount, but that one is quite interesting because it is a cattle prod, and those are quite fun, considering lots of herd tribes in Africa, their wealth is derived from cattle, so that's quite a nice item. Again, early 20th century tulwar. This one is a relatively modern cutter. It is quite good condition, and just it's huge. It is heavy. It comes up to almost my waist, and yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that or not because it might be quite fun to play with. Then we have a Victorian 1845 pattern piquet sword. This one has been made by Mole and Son. Generally good condition, needs a bit of a clean, but yeah. Hilt is in solid shape, and I'm quite happy to have another one of these. This one will be going up on the site. This one won't be going in one of the flash sales. And quite nice that it is all solid and tight. It comes with its scabbard, which again needs a clean, but it's just come out of the case. Can't expect much. Now, another piece that I quite like. This is an early 20th century Malinke or Mandingo sword. These are also known as slaver swords, and I do have another one around here with a Europeanized hilt. This one is the more traditional style. I've been looking for one of these. Early 20th century. My other one is 19th century. And this one is quite fun because it has an aluminium pommel. So when these were made in the, 1910s to 1930s, during the interwar period, a lot of aluminium from, it's from the First World War that was scavenged in Africa, was used as prestigious decorations because at the time it was worth almost as much as gold. So that little lump of aluminium at the time would have been a prestigious ornament to have on quite a fun little sword. And these are also known as slaver swords, but at the time they weren't really a slave trading group anymore, for the most part. And I believe this is the last of the axes, but here is a really, really hefty, this is a bronze or gunmetal style alloy, and this is an Afghan tribesman's axe, late 19th century, and look at how heavy that is. And yeah, just love it. I've had better versions of this, but none as big, and it's just quite delightful. Moving on. I need an assistant to pass me things from off screen. I am going to show some shields. So this is an Indian shield. This is a dal. This has been made with the 4 bosses and the knuckle pad on the back. And it has some of the best enamel work that you will find. This shield was most likely made or decorated in the city of Lucknow in northern India. And it has blue enamel, red and yellow enamel, and there was also gilding remaining on this copper shield. And whilst it's most likely a parade piece, it is still a stunning example of look now enamel and gilding work. Again, it is a alloyed shield. This one is from Uttar Pradesh in northeast India, and it is just, again, quite nice. It is bi-coloured metals, quite decently detailed, late 19th century, I would say. It's better quality than a lot of the ones you would find. Held at arm's length with a sword on the other side. And yeah, I haven't had one of these in a while. The last time I had two, they sold almost straight away, and it's just nice to have one and have it for a while before it goes online. And the last of the shields is this. This is a shield from Kerala. This is a South Indian buckler, and this one is older than the others. This one is, I would say it's likely mid 18th century, but it may be earlier. And that is because in this area of South India where these were made, the people were disarmed by the British due to a rebellion that led when the British were there, it started out with them having, I believe it was 2,500 East India Company soldiers in the garrison. And it ended up with them having almost 80,000 in the garrison at the end of the conflict. And yeah, overall, it's just a stunning piece. I am very lucky to have it. I think I will most likely keep this because I have a rather rare Kerala Cochin archer's dagger, and this is what the archers would have carried. And it's one of those brilliant times where essentially the tribals of this area, they would have had a buckler, a bow and a knife, and usually whatever the weapons they could scavenge off of the British. And they fought the British to a stalemate for years, and the war only ended when the commander was killed by one of the British officers, a young lieutenant, and then the fighting spirit left. But it is a very interesting conflict that isn't really written about. It's just fun to find out about. Okay, now we have more axes. Again, back to Afghanistan, we have this one. This one is potentially North Indian near Nepal, but it has been decorated in the Afghan style, and it's quite nice. It's quite small, like as you can see compared to my hand. But then there's this one. This is an Afghan spike-hafted axe with quite nice decorations. This is mid-19th century, and it has been decorated in a Persian style. It is something quite common to Afghanistan with these axes, that they were decorated to copy the Qajar revival axes, which were usually acid etched. This one has been engraved. I need to clean up that head, but well, I will show more pictures of it soon. Maybe you'll be able to see there is a bird, peacock, phoenix in there, but the thing that gives it away is these floral rivet finials that really, it's on lots of Afghan axes and even some Afghan swords holding the pin. And now we move on to the fancy ones. First is this 18th century hanger. This one is in spectacular shape. I am a massive fan. It's so shiny that it almost looks new. And I believe one of the previous owners may have polished this a bit too much and added a bit of resin or varnish. So it may need to be cleaned off, but it is just stunning. Covered in decoration, but the decoration has been frugally done. So the inside completely plain, the outside It has hunting scenes, it has flowers, it has dogs and foliate designs. The blade, quite standard for an early to mid 18th century piece, but it does, on the back, this won't catch it on camera very well, it does have a rather nice set of arrows, which later became the point of percussion marks. Not really sure why it's on this because the blade is just over a foot long. The hittiest part of this blade is wherever you do the hittiest bit. Stick with the shorter weapons now. Again, a rather fun yataghan. This is quite long for what it is, but it is just lovely. I fell in love with this piece after I saw the contrast, because it has had a hide wrap on the grip, which means someone has modified the grip for it to be grippy. But in contrast, there is this wonderful detailed silver work, and it is a signed Damascus twist blade that may show up in the light there. And scabbard also, that may need some restoration, but this is the best. It's one of the nicest yataghans I've had. I think the second best I've had. And the damage to the scabbard, while it's not great, we are sword collectors, not scabbard collectors. Sticking with the East, here is quite a lovely shamshir. This is gilt and gilt over copper in the Persian style, likely made in India though. This has a extremely curved blade. The blade is rather lovely woots and quite high contrast and fine grained, and the grip is nice and big. I love a shamshir with a nice grip. They are hard to find. And this one I'm not sure if I want to keep or not. I am a bit in love with it. But it would go well with something in the Swordvent calendar. And also, it matches the t-shirt, which you should probably buy. They're really nice. Sold by Matthew Ford, Ford Military Antiques. And shameless plug, if he sells many, who knows, I might get a free t-shirt. And yeah, shamshirs, love them, can't get enough. It's beautiful, it's woots, it's large, and it comes with its scabbard, which is nice. The scabbard is crushed velveteen, or no, that is suede, and it has a wonderfully preserved drag there, and it has a gilt copper lining all the length, which often with pieces that would be worn in a sash, you don't want your blade coming through the scabbard if you are holding it, because that ends up with some serious injuries. And if any of you have owned an antique cookery, you may have had this issue where you pull a cookery holding the wrong side of the scabbard and the blade comes through because it's just wood sandwiched with leather. There's no protection in the middle. Oh, my voice is really going now. Thank you for bearing with me. This is 20 minutes long. Nice. Okay. Moving on to the European pieces. Here we have the dreaded word. I'm going to say not a flank officer sabre. This is just a rather nice officer sabre. The scabbard and sword are likely a marriage, though there has been some evidence of people with steel hilts and brass scabbard fittings in artwork, so who knows, maybe the sword did originally go together, but this is a rather fancy sabre. This is roughly in the 1788 style. It is dated to 1797. The blade was made by Gill. It has a family crest and family motto. It has it's a fine grip. It's quite thinner than I'm used to, but it's very nice. It is marked with the Georgian coat of arms. The scabbard is by Prosser, high quality, and it also has the owner's initials scratched into the throat. So it's WS, and I'm going to have some fun researching that soon. This is something that I'm not sure if I want to keep because it's so unique. Like, it may be a period marriage of pieces. It has a owner's initials and an actual date, and I do love a Gill warranted sword. I haven't had one in a while. So yeah, that is spectacular. Most likely will be for sale, but you'll have to take it from me. I'm gonna have a cough break. Into the sleeve. Okay, on to the last few pieces. This is one that I only know about. Again, I'm going to shamelessly plug Matthew Ford because he wrote the book La Ciabla, and that is the only English language book on Italian swords that I've found that is good. I've found a few articles here and there, but he has written an entire digital book which is coming out in print maybe soon. This has an older 18th century blade. It is marked in Solingen and has a wonderful Italian armory mark. And this pattern of sword is a 1774 pattern with silver over brass, which means it is Sardinian army. This was also adopted by other Italian armed forces, and this is one of the fancier ones around, and it is in near perfect condition with the engravings, the blade, perfect. It even has a 300-year-old leather washer, well, 250 odd, and it is just in spectacular shape. This is a long officer's small sword, and even at the time, in the 18th century, these were called antique swords. So the Sardinian officers would carry antique swords, and they are just wonderful. It is very responsive. It is rather wonderful, and you can see why people would hold on to this even after these became obsolete in a military setting, compared to spadroons of the time or sabres of the time, which became the predominant weapon on the battlefield. Still, with the small swords, here is another fun one. This is a English or Dutch. This is a transitional rapier, actually, I would say, on the smaller side. It is dating to the late 17th century, early 18th, and it is an ambidextrous English or Dutch rapier. Rather delicate guard, but quite a hefty oval section blade, and it does just want to move. It just does awful things, and I have to be careful not to take everything out right now. And the grip is in spectacular shape and a bit of pitting, but the thing that really attracted me to this is, and hopefully some of that will show up, the fact that this sword has inlaid gilt and copper talismans, and these talismans are often a good luck charm or a prayer, and yeah, they are quite wonderful. They look spectacular, and who knows, that the prayers may actually work. And this feels wonderful. I haven't had an ambidextrous small sword like this in a while. Again, I wish I could keep it, but it will most likely be going for sale, and it is just stunning, absolutely stunning. We're getting onto the last two pieces now, and these are truly spectacular. Here is a pillow sword, but the heftiest pillow sword I've ever actually had. I've had quite a few of these. They tend to sell before they hit my website. They get offered to my regulars and they always snap them up. This is just a stunning example. The grip has some losses. It is down to bare wood, but it is huge. It has heft, it has rather large guard sections and side ring, and the blade also is a, maybe you can see that profile, who knows, but it is a very thick, kite-shaped profile, with the front having a very delicate cutting edge and the back having a cutting edge which is very broad. It is almost pipe back-esque in the breadth of the blade, and it is just wonderful. Again, like the previous small sword, it is very responsive. It just feels good in the hand. It has its original decorations. This is likely dating from between 1630 to 1680, Wars of Religion, English Civil War period. And yeah, the myth behind these is that they were kept on or beside the bed to defend yourself when you're sleeping. But I believe these are just town swords. They are what you would wear if you didn't choose to wear a rapier or a hanger or any other type of gentleman's sidearm. They are wonderful swords. They are reminiscent of the arming sword. This one's especially so because of the size of the guard and the grip, and it's closer to arming sword than it is small sword, which most of them are quite dainty things. And lastly, a sword that I just had to have. This is a very rare example of a tercale. This is, or tercale, I've also heard it called, depending whether you say it with a hard C. So this means essentially a Turkish bladed sword, and they are basket hilts with a curved blade. Now, I will caveat this and say that unlike most swords where you want an original blade in your hilt, this is not the case with these. I do not know of a single tercale or tercale that has an original saber blade in them. Some of them actually have Turkish killage blades, some of them do have actual Indo-Persian Shamshir blades. This one, I believe, is just a European saber blade, and they are marriages. They are contemporary marriages of people who wanted short, curved and broad blades. They're all broad and hefty like this. This guard is likely English as far as the basket hilt goes. It's a 3/4 guard, very similar to English government cavalry swords. I've seen this pattern style called the 1745 pattern. Quite a few authors have referenced it as being a 1745. I don't believe that's the case. I believe that is just a lot of hype and maybe a selling point to try get people to think that it's from the 1746 rebellion. But yeah, it's a wonderful sword. There are very few of these curved bladed basket hilts on the market, and there's just as few in museums or collections. Partly that is the fault of, well, very enthusiastic Victorian museum staff, and in the same way that we don't have many alehouse daggers, because if you have a perfectly functional basket and a big blade, it looks a lot nicer to have a basket hilted broadsword rather than a little basket hilted cutlass. And that is essentially what this is. This is a gentleman's cutlass hanger with the ultimate hand protection. And this one even has a rather lovely addition there with a heart, which I've seen this on a few pieces by Glasgow basket hilt makers, and yeah, it's just spectacular. Then also going into more details, there's that wonderful fluted bun pommel, also marks it out as English. The shagreen is in wonderful shape. This sword is already provisionally sold, but I'm going to be holding on to it for a while because I will likely not see another one of these in a bit. They are hard to find, they are rarer than hen's teeth, and they just feel amazing. So they're short, they're not long, but they have presence. Let me find my basket hole. Having so much fun here. So this is my personal basket hilt from my collection. This is a large British government basket hilt, slightly older than this. This is most likely 1760. This is 1730s, 1740s. And as you can see, the difference in size is immense. This is a long cavalryman's sword, and this likely would have had a blade like that originally, but someone decided to be awesome and do this. And I'm so happy they did, because my word, this is the best. Anyway, that is not really an unboxing, but that is everything I got, aside from a few holsters, sword belts, that whole shebang. Not weapony enough, so I'm not going to show you. And hopefully you enjoyed, and a few of these pieces will be getting videos of their own, especially this, because we may never see one of these again on this channel. Again, thank you for being patient with my videos. I will be trying to upload more after Christmas, and yeah, if there's any pieces you want to see, tell me about it, and I will make Instagram posts, Facebook posts, detailed pictures, or I will write an article. Just let me know what you want to see and I will do it. Okay. Well, good to see you. Glad I got to show you these. Take it easy.